¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está?
What's up, guys? This is Real Estate with K and J. I'm Kyle. He's Justin, and today we are talking about selling a house. We just got done with our series, talking about everything that you kind of need to know going into the buying process. But the market's hot. Everybody keeps hearing about it, and they say your house is going to sell in a weekend. We're going to tell you how that can happen, what you need for that to kind of happen. And also what to kind of expect through the whole process if you're considering buying or selling a home and don't really know what all kind of goes into that. So let's get into it.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, man. So this is a topic you're pretty geeked about. You have a whole bunch of certifications and things you did really pertaining to this side of the field. So first thing, we get reached out to by someone, say, and their expectation is, hey, we're going to sell in a weekend. And that's kind of our job, is to, paint your home in the best picture that we can. How do we start by doing that?
So, I mean, one of the biggest things in order to get like multiple offers over a weekend and things along those lines is, the big thing is, where is your house located? But of course, the one of the biggest things that really just determines if you do get multiple offers or if your house is in on the market for quite some time, the price.
Yes.
Like personally for me, I like to get as thorough as possible when running comparable properties to come up with a value for a home. So then that way, when I go to a listing appointment and I have that conversation about the price and how much the home is worth, we come to an agreement on a price that's a win-win situation. So, whether that's below market value a little bit to try to get as many offers as we can, or if it's right on the money and still drives a bunch of traffic. It just really depends. But yeah, I mean, personally, I feel like price is really like the biggest thing. And, that's the pros of hiring a real estate agent, is because you have them going into the work, diving into the, comparable properties, the market conditions, and we're super familiar with it. So, rather than looking at like a Zestimate or something, having professional opinion makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and the Zestimate, a lot of the stuff that's online, they don't really know what you've done to the home. That's one thing that you like to ask when we first walk in the door is, what are some things that you're proud of that you've done with your house? Because some of these projects aren't cheap, and they really do go a long way in making your home look good. And those, numbers online aren't aware of the new floors that you put in, or the updated bathroom you just had done, or the new countertops that you had installed 2 weeks ago. And then it's saying that your house is only worth X amount of dollars when you've put, 20 to 30 grand in it in the last few years. Things like that really do go a long way.
Oh yeah, most definitely, especially with the estimates or any like online, home evaluation, give you numbers right away type of thing. I mean, all those websites go based off like an algorithm, and like you mentioned, they're not, they're not aware of the updates that went into the house since you bought it. They're literally just pulling data from public records, pulling data from, houses that sold, whether it's updated or not. They're pulling all that data, and that's how they come up with those values. So, always getting a professional opinion. That's, to me, in my opinion, it's like a no-brainer, just because you want a professional opinion. It's like if you're trading in your car, you want to make sure that you're talking to someone who's educated and knows, like the car market. Same with houses.
So one of the things that we kind of first just brought up here was pricing. One of the things that we kind of think about, especially in this market, and that's why Justin was just talking about pricing it competitively with the market. Sometimes you can shoot for the moon, but hey, we've been over this before on the podcast. Your boy likes food. All right. So we're going to use the old food analogy here. So we're at the grocery store, right? And we see like a pack of Reese cups on the, clearance shelf. We'll say they're normally like $1. Well, these ones are marked down to 40 cents. They used to be $1, but they're not anymore. That kind of raises a red flag. Like, hang on a second. This is too good to be true. There's something wrong with these Reese cups, right? And that's kind of what everybody kind of sees things that way. It's the same way when you go to price your home. If we shoot for the stars here and then we start working our way back, like, hey, we're not getting any traffic, and then everybody kind of sees the your home kind of continuously decrease in value just looking at, we'll say, at Zillow or Realtor or from one of your agents' websites that they're sending you to, and it just kind of raises some red flags. And then you're sitting there, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and someone comes in with a low ball offer. You're like, wait, what happened?
Right? Yeah, because
it's going to get that negative stigma towards your home.
Yeah, because I mean, Because I know personally when I'm showing buyers houses, if we see a house that's been on the market for, some weeks or even like a month, we
Hmm.
know there's something wrong with it. Whether, it's like a, imperfection with the house itself, a repair or update that needs to be done, whether it's cosmetic or whatever the case may be. But, really there's something wrong with it, and it's either that or the price. So I mean, those are two things that, when I'm bringing buyers to properties, we put in consideration, especially for an offer and whatnot they decide to. But that's when, going back to price, if you shoot for the moon and price too high, then those thoughts are not only for, certain buyers, but most of the time it's for every buyer and everyone who's out there shopping. So, shooting for the moon, not always the best decision, just because of that reason.
Yeah, and then you kind of get everybody, for the buyer side, it really sucks. But on the seller side, you kind of get everybody, bidding against one another to then ultimately get you to that price that you wanted to be at in the first place. As opposed to, working your way down the whole time. You're kind of
Right.
making it go up. So yeah, another thing with price, I mean, it's such an important part of this whole thing. All the things that you were talking about, it's very unlikely, or at least a lot of the time it seems, you can look online, whether it be Zillow, Realtor, or anything like that, and see like your neighbor's house will say just went for sale. Will say hypothetically 129.9. And then you're looking, and you're like, man, my house is better than that. Then you start like, well, throw this in there, throw this in there, throw that in there. But they do have a second bathroom, and they have potential for certain other things. And that's just, you're not going and walking through the house, so
Right.
kind of tough to gauge those kind of things just off of something like that.
Yeah, it is, especially since, like, back in the day, a lot of builders, they build all these houses identical, but every house is different, whether it's a little change in the layout or updates. So I mean, like, going back into, if you see your neighbor's house go for sale, you may get that amount, you may get a little more, may get a little less. It just really depends, and that's why getting that professional opinion can really just guide you in the right direction and let you know how much, specifically your house is worth in today's market conditions and whatnot.
Yeah, not just updates, but upkeep too, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's another big thing. If all these houses are built similarly by the same builders, and you're wondering why this house or why your home is valued so much more than your neighbor's house, well, it's because you took care of your stuff. You updated your filters regularly. You did replace the water heater. You painted and spackled like cracks in the walls and ceilings, and you have new paint and things like that. That's obviously, it's like that Reese cup. I mean, if it's not the new Reese cup with all the new cool things, it might be on the clearance shelf. Um,
Right.
so just little things like that really do go a long way. I mean, especially with the price. So like you said, the price goes a long way. If you shoot for the same price as your neighbors say, um, then that means you're kind of out of the picture there. So the price will kind of dictate that. If you have a giant hole in your floor, which is kind of unusual, but sometimes it happens. And you're like, well, my neighbor's house just sold for this. And then the buyer's going to come by and will say, you have a giant hole in your floor. It's going to cost 10 grand to fix that.
Right.
And then they're just going to subtract that from your purchase price. Then they're in their mind. So,
Oh yeah, most definitely. And similar too for especially like bigger updates and things. So, like a new roof compared to a roof that has 5 or 10 more years left on it. Even though that roof is in perfect condition still, and it still has quite some time. But I mean, a brand new roof, it just adds value right out the gate, because that's just an expense that, the buyers don't have to worry about down the road, or at
right.
least for quite some time. So it definitely plays a role and makes it a little bit more desirable as well.
So after those kind of things, let's say we get the call and I'm like, hey, we want to sell our house. We don't really know what we're doing next. We don't know kind of um, how to go about any of this. What's your first answer there?
Yeah, so my first answer, so if that question pops up, one of the first things I do, especially if someone calls, and I know you do the same thing, similar, you try to set up a time for in-person meeting. So not only can you check out the house, but you can really dig deep, learn about, where the seller is going to go, what's their next move, are they staying local, are they trying to move to Florida, be a snowbird, whatever the case may be. That's why I like to sit down in person, because at that point, we can go through numbers and all that, but we can come up with a game plan, something so
Yes.
that way, when you do list your house, you have a game plan in place to just go accordingly to it. And then, of course, that would part of the game plan would be to find a new house and whatnot. And then that's when we touch base, figure that out. If it's local, of course, we'd still be able to help. If it's out of state, fortunately, we're with Remax, so we have one of the biggest referral networks out there. So we can find someone to help you out wherever you plan on going. But those are really the two biggest things. The biggest thing is coming up with a game plan, so that way you have a place to go after you sell your house or during.
Yeah, I totally agree. For example, I had a client. Whoops. I might be that client there. For example, I had a client in the past summer, and she reached out to me after having worked with another agent. And the house was under contract at this point, and she had nowhere to go. Like, they were selling her house, and she thought, she might have X amount of time to find a new home, but not realizing what the market was really like and what her expectations should have been as far as getting a new home. This agent unfortunately kind of left her out to dry. And she ended up with nothing. She ended up
Right.
renting. So that's kind of it too. Like, if you have the idea, make sure that you do your own kind of due diligence and talk to someone who really does have your best interest at heart, because anybody can come by and put a sign in the yard. But like Justin was saying, we need to get this game plan in order, because for us in particular, the two of us, it's not about just getting that sale. We want to have the same peace of mind, getting you your new keys and seeing you kind of go on to that next chapter, knowing that everything's okay and that there's no regrets, along the road. And that's a big thing. So the game plan, we're going to go over where you're going next. The financing, how we're going to pay for that, what we're kind of expecting to get back if we do sell your home, things like that. Can we put this, if we're selling this $129,000 house here and we only owe, 40 grand more, how it's the smoothest way to get this bit of equity into our next home and things like that. And we're going to go over all that kind of stuff with you, as well as pricing it, like Justin said, getting measurements and things like that. We can go and look at these old listings, but like he said, your updates, there's something to be proud of, and that's going to kind of add to the equity of your home that we're already kind of looking for.
Oh, most definitely. And just going into like what you said, we genuinely have our client's best interests at heart. So, literally coming up with a game plan. An additional thing that we do too is, when I go to a house and they're thinking about selling, if there's anything to point out or anything that can be updated or literally anything that can add value and, draw more attention to your property and get you those multiple offers and get you a higher price, we point out those things too, because, it's part of our due diligence. We want to look out for your best interest and we want you to make the most money, so pointing out those little things, whether even if it's just paint on the wall, that's something that we also dive into, just because, it's part of the game plan and it's part of, coming up with the value. And then of course, trying to get you the most money in your pocket.
Yeah. And just kind of piggybacking off of that, the kind of the inverse of that really would be like, what are some things maybe going on with your home that are a little cringy, some things that,
Right.
are some problem areas. Maybe you get moisture in certain spots, things like that. Think about if you're the buyer in this situation and you find this out halfway through your transaction, you're going to be pretty upset that you kind of felt like, oh, the seller didn't know about this or that. Where if you're just honest up front and the buyer sees this, a lot of the time these buyers will just be like, oh, that little thing, that's not a big deal, we'll work past that, instead of kind of feeling duped, halfway through the whole process.
Oh, most definitely. And that's going also to piggyback off that, that's like going into like the property disclosures. Those are something that, every seller must fill out in the state of Ohio in order to sell their house, because it points out and makes known defects aware. Makes the buyer aware of those things. So, as long as you're, when you do plan on selling your house, as long as you're truthful in that, like you mentioned, and really just staying true and just letting it all out. It's kind of like letting the cat out the bag essentially, but you have to legally. And, like you said, it just prevents a headache down the road. Everyone's aware of any issues or known defects of the property, and it just makes it a much smoother transaction. And even if you do have like some defects, let's say you have a leak in the crawl space, right? And most of the time, that may be because the downspouts are an extended 6 feet out away from the house, or wherever the case may be. But if you make that something, if you make it aware up front, it just makes the process easy, and you'd still have the chance of getting multiple offers, because there
Sure.
may be a buyer that comes through and they're like, oh, that's just downspouts, it's no biggie type of thing. So just staying true and honest, it's always the best move for sure.
Yeah, and before we kind of get too far from, the updates that you have done or we're kind of looking for you to do, whether it's like neutral colors, maybe getting a storage unit to get some of the clutter out of your house and things like that. We're trying to also, within a different head as far as marketing and things go, we're trying to paint your home in the best light that we can. Once we kind of put that hat on, once we know what our kind of game plan is. So, that we're looking at, like, if it's, a feasible thing, getting some neutral colors up painting wise. If you have an idea of where you're already going, getting like a storage unit to get some of the clutter and whatnot out of the house. And then curb appeal is a big one. I mean, how many houses have we pulled up to and our buyers are just like, oh yeah, this ain't it.
Oh yes, several, because literally curb appeal is the first thing buyers see. So I mean, you want it to be top notch,
Yeah. Because I mean, there's been plenty of instances where you pull in the driveway and everybody gets out of their cars, and there's this ain't bad, or there's I don't know if this is it.
Yeah, right. And then literally it's just like, all right, let's just turn around and on to the next.
Yeah, and this is before we've even opened the door. So I mean, just getting the rake out for a few hours, getting some things cleaned up. During this whole seller series that we're going to keep going through, we're going to have a few people on talking about some of like different design things you could do like that. Home decor, scents that people like when they go touring through your home. A lot of different cool, neat things to kind of get you prepared for that whole side of things. Yeah. So once we kind of get through that, I mean, we're pretty much listed, as a buyer or as a seller, what can I expect, once the house is like actually on the market?
Yeah. So, I mean, once we get through, the whole listing presentation side of things, we come up with a game plan, everything's good, we're all on the same page, and then boom, we list the house. So next, of course, would be what we do as agents. So, I know you do it, and then, I do as well. But for my listings, I market the heck out of the house.
Yeah.
I put it not only on social media, but it goes to ESPN, it goes to WTOL. There's ads literally running everywhere. But before the ads, I get a professional photographer out there, because I've noticed, a lot of listings lately, people don't use a professional photographer just because they're selling so quick.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think it makes a world of difference, because any house, any seller that lists with me, I make sure, it doesn't matter the price point, I make sure professional photography is done, because I want that online presence. I want the marketing that is done to be top notch, in order to, get not only as much exposure as possible, but to try to bring in as many buyers as we can, get as many offers as we can, and to drive up the price. So, once we go hard on marketing, we get pictures done. Of course, we have a great network of agents, not only in our office, but we work with agents on a day-to-day basis. So even if they're not with our brokerage specifically, we have that network where we can reach out and, try to be essentially a matchmaker, match a buyer up to the listing. And then, of course, we can do open houses. That's one of the things I love, especially just because it gives another marketing aspect. Of course, you can make the house coming soon too, which I'm sure a lot of people have been seeing and aren't aware about that. But, that's something we could dive into throughout the series. But those are just a few things out of many that we do. And then, of course, coordinate showings, and just literally make sure that it's as seamless as possible for the seller, make sure it's as less stress as possible. Because, if, for example, I had a listing that had 30 showings in a weekend, that's a lot. You're not going home.
Right.
You might as well just stay at your parents, friends, or whoever the case may be. But the way I list properties, I try to coordinate that, so that way, when that does happen, it's just less stress on the seller and whatnot. But those are just a few of many things that I do as soon as we get listed.
Yeah, and kind of just going into what you said a little bit. So I mean, like the marketing and all that stuff, it might not seem like a lot, because it's like, hey, I'm gonna get 12 to 15 showings anyways. Does it really matter if does it really matter if we're getting the best pictures? Can I just take them on my phone real quick? Sure, but if you're trying to get, top dollar and you're going to have a few different hats in the ring, those professional photos could be the difference between, someone selling, their $800,000 house and selling down, to buy this house in a place in Florida, say.
Right.
They're going to look for something a little cleaner. Or anybody in particular, it could just be that one offer that is going to be better than the rest, that you're just not giving yourself the opportunity because your home isn't painted in the best light that it could have been.
Right.
And that just kind of comes with the territory. Like we were saying, any agent can kind of just throw their sign in the yard, but with the Remax balloon, you're getting the whole team of marketing that he was talking about, the professional photography, us, all kinds of great things. Another one that you kind of brought up, if that isn't appealing to you, like you said, some people can't leave their homes for an extended period of time like that with all that. A new system that we kind of have in the office is called like listings to lead, or no, what is it? It's
Listing alert.
There it is. Geez, there's like two of them with the same name. Anyway, you got it. So what that does is, like you said, it plays matchmaker, and there's, so many agents in the Remax Preferred that we're with that have, dozens of buyers ready and looking for anything. And, we can put something like that on there and just get you the price that you're looking for and have way less of, the traffic and kind of, shaking up your day-to-day life for a weekend or maybe more. It's just another service that we kind of offer. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. And also, just so everyone watching this knows, when it comes to the marketing, the pictures, when you sell your house, you have to, of course, pay a commission to pay, not only the listing agent and their brokerage, but the buyer's agent and their brokerage. But when it comes down to the marketing, the pictures and everything, that's an expense and cost that is put on us as a listing agent. That's part of our service and what we do for you. So when people are watching this and like, well, I got paid commission on top of paying for all this marketing, not the case. That's something, like I said, an expense that we pick up, take on our own, because that's what you get service wise when, of course, you choose myself, Kyle, or whoever it may be, depending on the agent, of course. But yeah, just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, man. So exciting stuff. We're going to have a few other guests kind of come on and cover a lot of these things with us. Do you have kind of any final thoughts? What's the average kind of time to close here recently for sellers?
So, for sellers, it's from start to finish, because I'll give an example just because it's best to put the time in, mental and whatnot. But so, for example, when I go to a listing appointment, most of the time, I talked about it a little bit earlier. I talked about doing coming soon. So coming soon is literally just, a time where you're on the market, but not active and allowing showings. Usually I do that for about a week. So that gives a whole week of just marketing, getting pictures done, getting the house prepped, ready for showings in the whole 9 yards. After the coming soon, we become active on the market. Once that happens, of course, depending, as long as the house is priced well and everything, all the boxes are checked, your house is moving ready, like the whole 9 yards. Ideally, I like to list on a Friday and try to get multiple offers over the weekend and do highest and best on like Monday and Tuesday. So, typically that's like 2 weeks right out the gate, give or take. Then after that, once we're under contract, of course, depending on the buyer situation and whatnot, but that's about a month or so, would say, play it safe. So all in all, you're looking a little over a month from start to finish, from listed to closing table. And it really depends, of course, on the situation, but that's typically average of what it is.
Yeah, with zero hiccups and things like that. And that's kind of like what you're talking about with a lot of the honesty and painting your house in the best picture and getting some of these things maybe either repaired or just being upfront about them. Those things will continue to go smooth.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it's exciting stuff, especially with the spring market right around the corner. But in this market, it's kind of spring all year round. So
yeah, it is.
kind of I have in February or, in May. So yeah, I'm Kyle. He's Justin, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.